At the core of the empire stands the Sky Palace. However, this is a land of rampant bribery and flattery, where corrupt upper-class nobles enjoy privileged rule. A high-ranking nobleman once proudly said, "Only nobles living in sky palaces can be considered humans." In this situation, the commoner-born Imperial General Li Ming was sent to the forefront of the border. He carries the history of the strongest magical envoy in his past life, starting to conquer the evil officials stationed in the faction one by one, and then returning to the center, constantly dispersing those corrupt bureaucrats. This is the beginning of a story. Chapter 1. Demotion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Great Qian Empire. The oldest mature country on the continent with a history of over 1,000 years. The center of the imperial capital stands the Temple of the Heavenly Gods. Splendid and magnificent. Built from the treasures of the royal family and the grandeur of the nobility. A livable place showcases the royal aura. In government activities, generals shuttle back and forth between administrative regions, and thus the imperial decree is issued. A joyful atmosphere permeates the entire continent, where the royal family and nobles exchange ideas, entertain national guests, and enjoy joyful moments. Almost all cultures and functions are concentrated in this place. Once, a nobleman who was obsessed with the moon and wine suddenly muttered. Number 34, those who are not residents of the Temple of the Heavenly Gods are not human beings at this moment. The appointment ceremony of new generals is taking place on the magnificent Temple of the Heavenly Gods. There are 24 new generals this year. They are the future elite candidates of the Imperial Center. In the Temple of the Heavenly Gods, they will live a luxurious life, welcome the promised promotion, and enjoy the grand social interaction among those with noble identities. This beautiful future is filled with the chest of the new generals. As they lined up neatly, a young man with black hair suddenly whispered to himself. "There is a smell of decay here." This sudden speech surprised the girl standing next to her. Emma. She quickly confirmed if anyone around her noticed, and then glared at him fiercely with her eyes. "Li Ming, what are you talking about? It's best not to say it again." "Sorry, I accidentally slipped my tongue." "It's because of your careless slip of the tongue that it could cause a big problem." "Oh my. I just accidentally said it, I won't say it. You'd better not speak." Although Emma's tone was tough, the black-haired youth seemed unwavering. This black-haired young man's name is Li Ming. He is also a newly appointed general and a newcomer. At this moment, one superior noble after another stood up and saluted. Sigh. "It's really boring." Li Ming sighed helplessly at this time-wasting ceremony. Although such a ceremony helps to strengthen loyalty and unity, the number of participants is too large and the duration is too long. The content is also very superficial, and some people even just mechanically read the manuscript. The Great Qian Empire has been passed down for hundreds of years. Nowadays, this form no longer seems to be for the needs of new generals, but more like to please the superior nobility. When the superior nobles had been talking nonsense for more than 3 hours, finally, they received the swearing-in speech of the new general representative. On the podium, the representative of this general, Ray Lo, was called up to begin his long-prepared speech. "I thought you were the representative of the general, Li Ming," Emma whispered beside her. She and Ray Lo are classmates in the same college, and have always been good friends in class, lunch, and other activities. The third place is also good. If someone else says that, it may sound like showing off. Emma couldn't help but smile bitterly. Every year, thousands of capable individuals in China take the military examination one after another. Firstly, being able to pass this exam itself is an extremely difficult threshold. The exam results will be widely disclosed, limited to magic skills and written tests. Both commoners and nobles, recruiters claim to evaluate capable talents solely based on their strength. Of course, this is only superficial. After investigating the military officer selection records of the empire over the past 300 years, it will be known that after the results were publicly announced, there has not been a session where a person from a civilian background was ranked as the chief general. No civilian will become the second place either. The highest ranking of civilian officers is third place. Moreover, both the chief and second place are without exception descendants of noble families. It is obvious that there are traces of arbitrary manipulation in such achievements. In other words, this empire now does not require civilian generals with the ability to surpass noble families. However, the difficulty of the exam itself has not changed. Whether it's nobles or commoners, everyone goes all out to take the exam, but no one has ever considered the idea of manipulating rankings. However, for Li Ming, it is different because he has long known such insider facts. Because his goal is to move towards the center of the empire, his strategic thinking is essential. Especially in places like the Temple of the Heavenly Gods where superior nobles gather, he must act with caution. Achieving the highest score that a civilian can achieve, third place, is crucial for him as a general at the starting line of his career. After the oath-taking speech, the next step is the allocation of new generals. For new generals, this is the most concerning issue and an important event that will have a significant impact on their future career. The first general representative to be summoned to the stage was the one who had just completed the speech and was also the first chief general. Lei Luo. The Heavenly God Temple Imperial Forest Military Headquarters. Yes. A sharp young voice sounded, causing a slight commotion among the new generals. Sure enough, he was assigned to the position of central officer. Emma couldn't help but smile bitterly. The Heavenly God Temple Guard Department is responsible for the guards around the imperial family and superior nobles, and most people believe that this is a shortcut for promotion. Lei Luo's father, Lei Hu, is the head of the super noble Lei family. He ranks third in strength among his superior nobles and is the third largest family in the empire. Therefore, Lelo's job allocation results are not only influenced by his grades, but also closely related to his background. However, Li Ming doesn't seem to be particularly concerned about this. Emma. The Agriculture Department of the Temple of Heaven. Yes, yes. She was a bit nervous, but seemed happy to answer. Because she had always aspired to work as a civil servant, she breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this result. The content of the general examination is based on grades and evaluated by the examiner for suitable positions. There is no distinction between civil and military here, so people are often assigned to departments they don't want. Then, one after another, generals were summoned to the stage. Li Ming looked at them with his eyebrows and eyes raised, muttering, that's too much. It is obvious that the order of being summoned is based on the rank, so that the noble children will be assigned to the so-called important departments. Although the chief Rei Lo and second place Emma may not have been noticed due to their excellent performance. But when the appointment order of the second-ranked generals is clearly arranged according to their titles and family background, the fool will also realize that this is unfair. However, such a convention is a microcosm of a major event at the center of the empire. So this made Li Ming feel how much the empire took care of and favored the imperial family and superior aristocratic class. Li Ming. North Border. Border Guard. Yes. The last summoned young man with black hair from a commoner background gave a cold answer. However, the surrounding discussions were unusually loud. Laughter and sarcasm came from all directions. Compared to being assigned to the Central Temple of Heaven and being sent to border areas for security work, it is clearly a form of demotion. Chapter 2. Keith's Ridicule. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the first day, he was assigned to the front line in a fiercely contested area. The obvious discrimination against civilians led to the demotion of Li Ming's appointment. The Northern Territory was the northernmost region of the empire and also a fiercely contested area, with over half of the casualties in each battle. Although geographically adjacent to the Duchy of Audi, there is no diplomatic relationship between the two countries, and the relationship is also very poor. They often compete for territory and engage in fierce struggles day and night. In addition, there is often the presence of the Kuming ethnic group, which forces the empire to deal with related issues. Usually, in such dangerous areas, lower-level officers below the rank of lieutenant are dispatched, while the dispatch of cadres and candidates such as generals is rare. When Li Ming stepped onto the podium to accept the appointment, some mocking laughter and sarcasm came from around. They were all mocking him for being assigned to the front line in this clearly unpopular place due to his civilian status. It's been tough. Come on. Thank you. However, Li Ming didn't care. He elegantly bowed and then walked down the podium with a confident demeanor. After the appointment ceremony, Li Ming and Emma walked out of the corridor, and at this moment, a tall and powerful warrior came towards them. His strong physique stands out in the crowd. Kaku. Long time no see. Emma ran towards him happily, and the young man known as Kaku suddenly showed kindness and lightly stroked her head. Kaku comes from the strong Zexang tribe and is classmates with Li Ming and Emma. After graduation, Li Ming hired him as his own guard. As an imperial general, he can carry a certain number of guards with him. Although Kaku performs average in humanities, he excels in combat. Li Ming has been sent to the northern border. We are about to part ways. Emma whispered in a somewhat lonely voice. Don't worry, I will protect Li Ming. Kaku's face was full of smiles, lightly tapping his broad chest like the sea. That guy wouldn't die even if he was killed 1,000 times, so you don't have to worry at all. However, he was sent to such a remote place all of a sudden, and the people above are really impressive. However, the front line is my goal. So we need to achieve victory as soon as possible and return safely, Li Ming said calmly. Ha ha ha. You are still confident as always. They were chatting when a chubby young nobleman walked over with a smile. Oh. You're Keith, right? Vaguely, in the corner of Li Ming's memory, he was found. He should also be a graduate from the same college as Li Ming. However, during their time at Taina Academy, they didn't even talk much. What a pitiful creature. Although he is just a commoner, he wants to become an imperial general through all his efforts. However, unfortunately, he was assigned to the most barren and brutal northern border of the empire, the forefront of the war. It was a waste of so much effort, and it's exhausting to think about it. It seems that he really wants to say these words. Keith smiled proudly and patted Li Ming's shoulder. Emma, I have been assigned to the Ministry of Revenue. How is it? It's impressive. However, let me remind you that young ladies from noble families like you are very wealthy. It's best not to mix with a commoner, as it would be disrespectful. So, who to talk with still needs to be carefully considered. He looked at Li Ming, indicating something. Who am I talking to, socializing with, chatting with, and what do I have to do with you? Don't point fingers at me. If you talk nonsense again, be careful not to tear your dog's mouth apart. Emma immediately became furious and rudely retaliated against Keith. In this situation, Li Ming stood in front of a confused beautiful girl. Little silly hat, don't make things difficult for my classmates, said Li Ming. What are you saying? Who are you calling out to? Keith angrily said. No one has dared to call him that since childhood. Whoever makes a sound, I'll shout. Li Ming didn't show him any courtesy when he saw so many aristocratic children who bullied others but were actually useless. Continue speaking. Although you are one of the few children of a noble family and have a huge advantage in the distribution of generals, not everyone shares the same idea with you that commoners are not worth socializing with. However, some people feel that you, as a noble playboy, are not worth socializing with and choose to socialize with people who can be talked about, whether they are commoners or nobles. Do you understand the meaning of this sentence? Li Ming continued with a smile on his face, without any intention of stopping. However, at this moment, Keith's face was already red and his neck was thick, and he felt the greatest humiliation since he was born. If I were you, I would have committed suicide on the spot with shame. However, although your grades were very low, it was absurd for you to become an imperial general with the advantage of having all the cheats of fame and nobility. Moreover, judging from your playboy personality, you know nothing. It's unbelievable that you can become such an important position as an imperial general. Just like your physique, it's as thick and sturdy. However, in a sense, I envy you. Because you can wait for the sky without effort, which is beyond everyone's reach. Li Ming finished speaking with a smile. A carefree and playful smile appeared on the face of the young man with black hair. So, you need to establish good relationships with friends who, like you, have a pitiful value system that only identifies with fame and family, and have a pleasant time with your relatives. If possible, don't have any further relationships with me in the future, I will be very happy. So, I wish you happiness and go. After speaking, he casually led Emma and Kaku away. Following closely behind was Keith, whose face was pale and angry, almost collapsing. Wah, wah, wah. This is a scene I have seen many times during my time at Taina College. No matter who the other party is, they cannot be forgiven. Once it is determined that it is the enemy, it will be completely eliminated. Therefore, the black-haired young man Li Ming, who lived such a life, was habitually disliked by those around him. Of course, apart from Emma and Kaku, there are no other friends. But when Li Ming didn't care at all. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Li Ming looked at Emma's face and was not very happy. How could you say that about him? After all, he's a nobleman, you. Emma said with some sadness. It's just a fact. Li Ming still disdains it. I think there are some things that cannot be said, said Kaku weakly. Although he is a martial artist and powerful, he also has his own ideas. Zhang Fei can still outsmart Waku Pass. Is that right? Why increase our enemies? Humph, one day you will be hit by everyone. Emma said angrily. Because she cares about Li Ming and is afraid that he will make too many enemies. Haha. Two people who completely ignored tearful accusations. Li Ming has already fallen into another kind of thinking. From this, it seems that this is even more serious than imagined. The empire is undoubtedly a big and thick tree. But as a country, an empire, this tree is already too mature. From the demeanor of the aristocratic children, this is a clearly rooted state. Especially in the central heavenly temple, he seemed to glimpse the depth of darkness. Li Ming hopes that there is no such thing in the northern region. Well, what I do won't change, I just do what I should do, Li Ming said on his own. The sound was neither low nor loud, just enough for Emma and Kaku, who were in the same group, to hear. Upon hearing Li Ming's words, Emma laughed angrily. She knows Li Ming. Understand Li Ming's work style. Just now it was just some minor complaints. General and soldiers from the northern region, welcome your devilish generals from the empire. Li Ming listened to Emma's words and smiled fearlessly. Chapter 3. School Venue Establishment. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Leaving the imperial capital, riding horses takes about 20 days. Arrived in the northern region. Usually, furniture, props, etc. are transported by horse-drawn carriages, but Hesse carries very little. Therefore, they arrived much earlier than the general nobility. The northern realm truly exists in the gap between it and the Duchy of Audi. On the border with the empire, stubborn fortresses are being built. In addition, with that as the center, huge walls are arranged in rows, becoming the dividing line between each other's territories. Enter the fortress immediately. There is no such magnificent decoration as the Temple of Heaven. Simple structure and emphasis on efficiency. In front of the colonel's room, Li Ming knocked on the door and entered, only to find several soldiers standing there. "I am Li Ming, who was assigned this time. Come and report." Although I saluted and said hello. But no one present reacted, and while they watched coldly, only an old man sitting in his seat responded with a smile to Li Ming. "Are you a civilian general?" "Ah, it seems like 10 years have passed. I'm Zerba. I'm the colonel in charge of this place." "Hello, Colonel." Li Ming greeted Gilba again. "You were assigned by the second lieutenant, right? So, assigned to the 8th team. Now there's a vacancy right now." "Yes, the empire is occupied by the privileged class of nobility. The noble title is 20, the lower-level nobles are 40. Because Li Ming comes from a commoner background, he cannot become a lower-class aristocrat. It must be the lowest caste level. However, there are 12 classes in the identity system of cadre candidates in the Imperial General system. Of course, because he is newly appointed, he is the lowest level, second lieutenant, but much higher than a sergeant, corporal, private, or soldier. Don't introduce yourself to others anymore. We have something important to talk about now. Before we gather you, you can train in the 8th team. Understood? Do you have any further questions?" "No, really." "Then, you have to be careful." "Yes," Li Ming replied and then withdrew. However, as soon as he walked out of the door, a voice came from the military command room. "He's really a guy with a low status, and his attitude is quite indifferent. Hey, anyway, he'll die soon, it doesn't matter. However, Colonel, you're really bad. Assign him to that disobedient 8th team, and they're unlikely to listen to the instructions of the new cadre's alternate students honestly. In that case, that's all for him. Anyway, in the central government, there are no generals who come from civilian backgrounds. Especially outstanding generals. After listening to the conversation and mocking laughter, Li Ming walked along the corridor. It seems that he did not receive a warm welcome. However, to be honest, suddenly putting him in danger was exactly what Li Ming wanted. Because Li Ming believes that such actions are exactly what soldiers should do and are more in line with his personality. When he walked to his room, he saw Kaku standing there. He is wearing an imperial-style uniform, which looks a bit off-fitting and seems to be a bit small in size. Li Ming walked into the room, holding a tooth shadow in his hand. This is an item called a wand, which is a magical tool used by magicians to release magic. The shape varies depending on the type, while the tooth shadow is a slender and curved teaching whip. After some preparation, he arrived at the designated training venue. That is a fairly wide plain with no shelter or buildings, nothing. The members of Team 8 are currently undergoing training there. There are about 40 people supervised by 5 military personnel. However, despite this being a martial arts training, everyone's movements are very scattered and lack coordination. Li Mingqiao walked towards a supervisor. He appeared to have a fierce gaze and was a middle-aged person with slight weight gain. "Is the lieutenant here?" "Who are you, Li Ming?" "He is the new second lieutenant of the 8th team." "Ah." The middle-aged man appeared slightly overweight, with a subtle smile on his face. "What's your name?" "It's Jomo. I'm a sergeant here." "Well, you don't have to remember me." "Why?" When Li Ming asked, Jomo smiled and approached his forehead. "There are some cults here. It's just that neither the brigadier nor the second lieutenant who came here can live long." "I understand. What you're saying is that there is no brigadier general, and you, as a sergeant, are in charge of commanding, right?" "Alright, then, Captain Jomo Chao, gather everyone over." "Ah. Why? Don't you even understand this? It's a superior's order. The new lieutenant, right?" "You better be honest here," replied Jomo with a sneer. "Get this scumbag for me." Upon Li Ming's instruction, Kaku immediately circled behind Jomo and grabbed his arms. "Bastard! What are you doing? Let go of me." Sergeant Jomo struggled desperately, but couldn't move because he was tightly held by Kaku. "It's useless. Whether it's physical strength or skills, Kaku is much more powerful than you. Damn it. I'm not joking with you, hey. Let go of me. Let go of me. You are now guilty. Firstly, you disobeyed the orders given by my superiors. Secondly, you did not immediately understand what I meant. Lastly, you dared to point fingers at your superiors. For all three reasons, you will be punished with a cane." Li Ming walked around to the back of Jomo and fiercely hit his buttocks with his wand. It hurts. It hurts." Jomo screamed out in agony like killing a pig. As a result, all members of the 8th team were attracted by his high scream. At the same time, Jomo was drooling and struggling. His uniform was stained with bright red blood, slowly oozing out. However, Li Ming paid no attention to the eyes of the people present and continued to strike hard for the second and third time. Suddenly, the cloth of the uniform was torn, and blood gushed out. Foam overflowed from the corners of Jomo's mouth, and he stared blankly and passed out. The scene left all members of Team 8 stunned. However, the black-haired youth does not mind. After finishing the fight, he smiled at them like this. "Li Ming. He is the new lieutenant of Team 8. Next, I will be your superior, remember. Remember." Li Ming shouted, his voice exploding. "Yes. Yes. 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 Yes." In an instant, the voices echoed in unison. Chapter 4. Hongmen Banquet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you guys holding the same rank as this sergeant? Li Ming looked at the other 4 supervisors present. At this moment, a thin and small man walked over. "Yes. What's your name?" "Dixon." The skinny man answered. "What is the purpose of this training?" "That's for the battle." Sergeant Dixon said somewhat displeased. "Is that right? It's changed now. Let everyone start from now on until it gets dark." "I understand. Did you hear me? Hurry up and execute the command. Wait, as sergeant officers, you also need to run with them. Remember, this is for combat. If combat training can only be done at your current low level, it's better to improve your stamina through running. Moreover, if it's just running, just one supervisor is enough. Dick and other sergeant officers had hostility in their eyes. However, Li Ming didn't care. "Do not execute commands." "Yes. What about others?" Li Ming looked around. Although the officers showed a very displeased expression, they still agreed. "Ladies and gentlemen, have you seen the 2 trees over there? Within my sight, run back and forth between those 2 trees 30 times. The time must be completed within an hour. Those who cannot do so will be given an additional 30 times. Cheating is not allowed. Once discovered, he will be punished with a cane like this lovely Sergeant Joe." Strict orders followed one after another, and everyone below the sergeant stared at him, but Li Ming didn't care. He coldly signaled the start and asked them to start running. At dusk, the training ended. Most corporal soldiers can complete the task within an hour. Perhaps they are accustomed to strict physical exercise in their daily lives. However, the sergeant officers who slack off under the guise of supervising the army on weekdays, as well as a few soldiers who slack off during daily training, can only run on the grasslands for an additional period of time. Running is the foundation of infantry combat. It needs to be done every day until basic physical strength is established. I hope you have a clear idea. After speaking, Li Mingjing confidently left the training center. After he finished speaking, he left the training center confidently. Following closely behind, Kaku looked at the sergeants and said to Li Ming, "Everyone is watching us, especially Sergeant Zhou and those guys. Staring at people does not violate military regulations, so there is no problem." Hey, that's not what I meant." Li Ming ignored him and walked straight away. Nevertheless, the Han warrior who knew this was Li Ming's personality did not say anything more. Return to the room and put away the assigned daily necessities. Toothbrush, cup. A comb used to organize hairstyles. Except for the wand, the items distributed to Li Ming were very simple. Li Ming was lying on a stiff single bed, looking at the list of team members. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. "Who?" Li Ming asked the checkpoint guarding the corridor. "It's Sergeant Jomo. Come on in." As soon as the door opened, a slightly chubby middle-aged man walked in with a faint smile. "Well, the welcome party is ready. I'm here to invite the adults over. Meeting to welcome the wind and wash the dust." "It doesn't seem like a welcome at all," Li Ming said while looking at the list of team members. "No, we're not going against you, sir. I think we have some misunderstandings between us. So, we've prepared good wine and good food to help you clean up the dust." Although he wanted to say, "It's useless, no matter how you please me," he held back. From Chao Chang's gaze, hostility could be clearly felt. So Li Ming sighed and stood up. "I see. The location is in the military cafeteria." "No, it's the place where the sergeants and officers discuss matters." "Okay. Lead the way." "Hee, I'll take the adults with me now." Didn't you invite me to sprinkle?" Kaku looked unhappy and didn't even call him after drinking and eating meat. However, at this moment, Sergeant Jomo's face was extremely gloomy. "Guard or something, don't you want it? We're partners in the same 8th team. Do you suspect we're enemies with adults?" Upon hearing this, Li Ming couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Such a blatant fool actually became a sergeant officer. "I guess it was bullying my subordinates, I was too proud and forgetful. Alright, I'll go alone. Oh, by the way, my lord, let's put this dangerous thing in your hand here for now." Jomo stopped Li Ming when he was about to take out his wand. "This is only for my personal defense and protection, because I don't know when the enemy will return. Sir, you don't have to worry about this. The camp is very safe, and besides, the soldiers and officers are all here. Even if the enemy attacks, we will protect you, sir." Or, "Sir, what are you afraid of?" said Xiao Mo with a sly expression. Li Ming knew at a glance what mischief this Jomo was holding back. "I must have prepared a big move and wait for myself at the back. There is no good banquet, it must be a Hongmen banquet." But he didn't poke it either. "I said, that's it. So, let's go." Li Ming pretended to accept the provocation, put down his wand, and walked out of the room. After entering the room guided by Jomo, there were already 5 sergeant officers sitting inside. Everyone wears fake smiles. Looking around the table, there were about 6 bottles of grape wine. The dishes on the table are extremely luxurious meat and fish. Sergeant Xiao proudly picked up a grape wine bottle. "Hee, sir, you see, it's really impressive, isn't it? These are all carefully crafted by the chef," I asked. Li Ming doesn't like such a banquet. He thinks this is completely wasteful. However, since it has been decided to test what medicine is sold in the gourd of this chubby guy, we can only perfunctory it for now. "Sir, this is our intention. Come on, let's go." Speaking, Sergeant Xiao pulled out the cork of the wine and poured it into Li Ming's cup. "Sir, what's wrong? There's no poison in the wine." "Sir, you're not afraid we'll poison it inside, are you?" Jomo cast a challenging gaze. Li Ming looked into his eyes, picked another bottle of red wine, and pulled out the cork. Suddenly, everyone present showed surprised expressions. "No, it's not good for me to drink alone. Let's toast. Everyone can drink, right? Here, I'll pour you a drink too." "What? No, 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 after you finish drinking, let's just pour some red wine and drink it. Don't have any worries. Since it's a gathering to clean up the dust, let's drink together. There are no superiors or subordinates here, they are all friends." Li Ming forcefully picked up Sergeant Xiao's glass and poured it for him, then poured it for the other sergeant officers in turn. "So, we'll rely on your support in the future. Let's drink together." Li Ming greeted directly and drank a glass in one breath. "Good wine, it tastes really good." "Hey, what's wrong? Why are your expressions so gloomy? Can't you drink the wine poured by the captain?" "Don't worry, it won't be toxic." "Of course it is. Did you prepare this wine yourself?" The sharp gaze was pitch black. He stared at Jomo's pale face. The other sergeant officers also had a pale face, and their hands holding wine glasses were trembling. For a period of time, I focused on researching poisons. I knew which bottle of wine had poison in it. I could tell at a glance. "No, it's impossible." "What? Are you joking?" At this moment, Li Ming was smiling all over his face. Chapter 5. Killing Two Thieves. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, the sergeants appeared with expressions on their faces that were more like standing on the execution platform than simply welcoming the wind and washing the dust. However, Li Ming paid no attention and smiled. "Hey, everyone, drink quickly. Wine will also deteriorate in taste when exposed to the air." "Ah, that feels a bit. So what? No, I can't even drink it, can I? Wow, ah. Jomo suddenly stood up and punched Li Ming hard. However, Li Ming noticed in advance and instantly dodged his fist. Just as the lightning was shining, Li Ming waved his wand casually and a blue light shone into Jomo's neck. Suddenly, blood spurted out from Jomo's expressionless neck. Then, like a ball rolling down his neck, he touched Buzz's arm with his mouth open and his face turning blue. In less than a turn, Joss was nowhere to be found. The magician has more than one wand. However, most magicians have one wand, so it's not unreasonable for this foolish and lacking Jomo to have an illusion. Now that Sergeant Jomo is dead, you don't have to worry, but remember what I said. Li Ming took out a napkin and wiped his black hair dyed red with blood, revealing a smile on his face. He held a short and thin wand in his hand. It was this small wand, and with just one wave, Jomo's head flew out in an instant. Wind Willow. This is the wand that Li Ming often wears. With just one wave, a sharp wind blade can be instantly shot out. Flexible and lightweight, convenient to carry. Although not very powerful, it is very practical. After tidying up Jomo's mess, Li Ming approached the team leaders who had completely lost their fighting spirit and continued to advise them to drink wine. Drink it. Can't you drink too? He tilted his head and asked. Just this question made the already frightened Samoan sergeant kneel on the ground with weak legs. I'm sorry, sir. Please forgive me. It was Jomo who poisoned us. He instigated us to do it. Poison. Is this wine poisonous? No, it's not, is it? Li Ming showed a sudden realization expression. Perhaps everyone misunderstood. Jomo was only punished according to military regulations because he wanted to beat Shengguan. Violation is a capital offense. However, if, assuming, this wine is poisoned, I must sentence you all to death. Because according to military regulations, right? 2. Shudder. Zirai, along with the sergeant, trembled in his voice, speechless in shock, groaning in pain. I'll ask you again, is this wine poisonous? The young man, covered in blood, asked quietly. No, but you can drink it. Really? That would be great. Li Ming showed a naive and innocent smile. Sergeant Bass, who answered Li Ming's question, finally had a close call and breathed a sigh of relief. So, what are you doing in a daze? Drink up. Yes, the wine poured by the officer is non-toxic. So, there's no reason why you can't drink it, right? Goo. Goo, Sergeant Dick, sweating profusely due to nervousness and fear, swallowed and foamed. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. Please forgive me, adults. Forgive you. Sure. But all the happy conversations come after a toast, right? You should know that, right? This. Choose. Either drink my wine or disobey my orders and be killed by me. Big. Adults. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Don't you have any family members? In case of an accident while drinking this bottle of wine, according to imperial military regulations, this is compensation for martyrdom. I also plan to give generous compensation to the martyred subordinates. But if you say you can't drink this kind of alcohol, it's equivalent to poisoning me, and that's treason. Of course, your family won't receive compensation, and soon you'll face the same fate as you. Li Ming raised his hand, turned his fist into a knife, made a neck shape, and then smiled slightly. Is what you're saying true? Samoa asked nervously. Of course, Samoa, Li Ming replied with a smile again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's drink together. Don't linger, drink it all in one breath. So, 4 people trembled and picked up their glasses. Cheers Bass, Samoa, and Zarega raised their glasses to their heart's content, but Dixon trembled and did not raise his glass. Please. Sir, let me go. I don't want to die yet, I really don't want to die, I don't want to. Before pleading not to die for the 3rd time, Dick's head suddenly flew up and fell to the ground. You don't have the qualifications to join the army, you don't even have the consciousness to die. Do you dare to kill the enemy? After Li Ming finished speaking, he poured the same wine again for the 3 people who were sobbing in pain. Don't worry, this is just an ordinary red wine. What? 3 sergeants looked at him in surprise. It's a simple trick. Didn't you notice it? When you noticed my wine glass, I swapped it with the poisoned wine. I didn't notice it, so it seems that your insight needs further training. Li Ming picked up the poisoned grape wine bottle and smiled. All the generals listen. The end will come. The end will come. The end will come. Everyone's voices are very consistent. You can tell people below the rank of sergeant that I abide by military regulations and will not tolerate anyone who violates them. Tomorrow, I will take the heads of these 2 people and teach them a good lesson. This is your responsibility. I will comply. I will comply. I will comply. The 3 of them immediately stood up and saluted to attention. All right. Then I'll take a little leave and wash away the bad luck. You can enjoy delicious food and wine to your heart's content, no need to be polite. After Li Ming finished speaking, he left. Chapter 6. Fair Food Distribution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That night, Li Ming had a dream. I dreamt of the body he once had, which was what it looked like before crossing over to this new body. The image appearing in the dream is his thin and weak arms and legs, with his body supporting very reluctantly. At that moment, he understood. This is his image before his death. On another continent, the body has experienced 2,000 years of time. Is this the final appearance of being hailed as the strongest wizard in history? It's really sad. The nostalgic voices of the disciples echoed in my ears. Lying there was Li Ming from a previous life, curled up on the ground with his heart in his arms. Groaning in pain and spasms, struggling to get medicine. Sad death. However, even so, it doesn't matter. That's the fact of aging. Everyone will age and die. This is the law of all things. However, Hessen is conducting an experiment. That is an experiment that desperately captures one's own life and soul. The result is acceptable no matter what. Is it a fate destined to die? Or, is it the god or the devil smiling? The ultimate result is. The devil smiled at Li Ming. Li Ming woke up in his young body. This happened 3 years ago. At 5 a.m. the next day. The morning sunshine woke Li Ming up. Go straight to the wash basin, brush your teeth carefully, rinse your face with cold water, and change your clothes neatly. It was ready in less than 5 minutes and immediately walked towards the restaurant. In the kitchen of the cafeteria, in order to prevent collective poisoning, each team has a dedicated chef. The ingredients should also be managed separately. Li Ming walked straight to the chefs of Team 8. Good morning, Mr. Li Ming. They immediately stopped cooking and saluted at attention. Don't worry about me, you continue. It's probably something Li Ming did in the 8th team yesterday that came through. You can feel the nervousness of the chefs. However, Li Ming didn't care about these things, he quietly observed the cooking process. Regardless of class, food should be evenly distributed. Yes. You can add vegetables twice. But you can drink up to 3 glasses of wine at night. If anyone insists on drinking more, you can report it directly to me. Yes. You just need to be careful before serving. However, if there is food poisoning, it is not a problem if it only involves individuals, but if it involves all members of Team 8, you will be responsible for it. Yes, yes. If you have any questions, just ask them here and don't ask them again in the future. Yes. Didn't it? After a moment of silence, a chef raised his hand. He is a slightly chubby middle-aged man with a big belly. Well, I'm Chef Hachi. Normally, we don't add more dishes. If we add dishes twice, the weight of the dishes should increase. What should we do if it exceeds the budget? Replan the menu and report the estimated portion size to me. Diet is also a form of exercise. The budget can be slightly higher, but don't overspend. I understand. Allow me to ask you another question, sir. Do you have any dishes you like or dislike? I don't think it's much. I'm the type who can eat anything. As long as the nutrition is balanced, everything is up to you. I understand. Mr. He, the head chef, nodded convincingly. He left a serious impression on Li Ming. Li Ming smiled reassuringly and patted his shoulder. Especially in infantry units, diet and exercise are equally important. It must be well managed. Just bring the prepared dishes to my room. He gave this instruction and looked at his watch. The time is 5:30. Returning to the room, he looked at the map pasted on the wall and memorized the surrounding geography in his mind. The Dacian border security here is adjacent to the Audi Duchy. The two countries are constantly competing for territory with each other. A tense confrontation unfolded day and night. In addition, it is necessary to frequently deal with issues related to the different ethnic groups of the Kuming people. Li Ming picked up the team member's log and began browsing. There doesn't seem to be much valuable reference content. Not everyone's logs are complete. Originally, most of the sergeants were from civilian backgrounds. The literacy rate is not high, so some things are helpless. He sighed as he continued reading the log, his gaze fixed on a journal. Card library. Li Ming shouted out through the door. What's going on? What's going on? The strong man answered anxiously. Don't panic, you go instruct Sergeant Zarega to call out the person who wrote the log. Delying. A few minutes later, Sergeant Zarega and a middle-aged soldier walked in panting. Sir, are you calling me? I didn't call you over. Forget it, what's your name? Lord Hui. My name is Adar, private second class. The middle-aged soldier answered nervously. Adar, this is the log you wrote. It records the time and location of the conflict with the Audi Duchy, as well as the time and location of the Kuming tribe's attack. Is that all? No, this is just the part 1. Remember myself. Really? From now on, you can ask all the team members and write down as many questions as you can. You are very good at summarizing. So after you finish asking and listening, write down the summary for me to see. Yes, sir. Sergeant Zarega. The end will come. A log without a sense of purpose is meaningless. Moreover, only someone who can write cannot cover all the information. From now on, I will abolish the log and let Adar be responsible for reporting, including all members including the sergeant. I will understand, sir. Adar's workload will increase, so we can consider raising his salary. You are responsible for this matter. Yes, sir. All right. If you have no problems, you can go back. No problem. The 2 people who received instructions quickly retreated. 15 minutes later, the food was served. Card library, Ah. I'm here. A rustling sound came through the door. Well, go and see if the soldiers' meals in the cafeteria are the same as mine. Hey. No, I'm eating. You can have another meal, okay? I'll share the bread with you as a token of gratitude. Kaku is Li Ming's classmate, so there is no hierarchy in their daily communication. Hey, I got it. There's really nothing I can do about you. Kaku happily walked down the stairs. During this period, he ate some food. The seasoning of meat and vegetables is very good. The milk has a slight odor, so Li Ming decided to leave some for the warehouse by the way. Not well kept. If the quality management of food is not rigorous, the risk of food poisoning will increase. Although Li Ming repeatedly reminded the chef, he thought while eating that this might be an issue with the procurement plan. Everyone is the same. Kaku returned with great enthusiasm. Really? Well, I got it, it's been tough. Li Ming gave the bread and milk to the warehouse. He ate it without hesitation. However, everyone's appetite and other factors are different, so it can be determined based on their position. No way. Our team will never discriminate based on position. Why? It's natural for people with high official positions to have more distribution, isn't it? In terms of food distribution, this difference is meaningless. Usually, lower-level officers' nutrition will be depleted due to excessive physical exertion. Higher-level officers' nutrition will be surplus due to immobility. Have you seen the stomachs of those sergeants? Well, that's exactly what you said. The most common requirement that subordinates seek from their superiors is fairness. This usually refers to receiving fair treatment based on workload. As a superior, I will continue to uphold the principle of fairness. Li Ming said firmly. The same labor must receive the same reward. This is unexpected, seemingly achievable but not achievable. Because their functions are different, the factors of luck and misfortune are also different. Yeah. What about eating together? I think Wei would say that. Perhaps. The black-haired youth showed a nostalgic smile. Chapter 7. Adar's Report. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 7 a.m., arrived at the training center. Everyone has already lined up. Every face showed a tense expression. They seem afraid to resist yesterday's incident. Training starts. Li Ming calmly issued orders and gave instructions. First, just like yesterday, let them run hard. The most important thing in battle is movement speed. Any excess fat should be removed first. Yes. The commander of the Zerega army, who was tightly grasping his side belly, responded in pain. Unlike yesterday, everyone completed the command within an hour. Okay, do it again. Yes. They repeated what was requested without complaint. An hour later, a few people were eliminated. Li Ming asked them to undergo additional training. The others squatted, sat up, and had their back muscles for me. They worked together and practiced with each other, training each other's bodies to react faster. Instantaneous movements could determine life or death. Yes. The answer became fluent. After all, they were originally the people at the forefront of the battle. They may also have an instinctive thinking that following the strong can survive. After the morning training, it was lunchtime. On the menu is a steamed fish called abito. Everyone excitedly threw themselves into the wolfing down lunch. But a few of them ate very little. Perhaps due to too much training, there is no appetite. For them, Li Ming asked them to rest longer and wait for their appetite to recover before eating. Diet is the foundation of regulating the body. In case of an emergency, you may not be able to eat for several days. So be sure to eat. Yes. Don't think you can be lazy. If you take an early break, your training will be delayed. Compared to other team members, the training volume will not change in any way. I understand. In the afternoon. Start practicing swordsmanship. Wear light armor and work in pairs to simulate actual combat. Change opponents every 5 minutes and engage in actual combat. Among them, there was a person who stood out particularly, gently waving his sword. Sergeant Bath. The end will come. Are you good at swordsmanship? Yes. So, please take on the role of teaching. 2 more people are needed. You can choose someone with good skills to teach. Yes. Sergeant Bass happily raised his voice and answered loudly. After the end, a joint training was carried out with 1 person wearing heavy armor and 3 people attacking. This is guided by Bass and his chosen Shalima First Class and a Banda First Class. Bath's swordsmanship level is quite good. The nearby Kaku whispered. Well, and I have extensive practical experience with various attack methods. So far, the training has laid a solid foundation. Li Ming looked at the commanders of the Seymour army and the Zerega army. Their muscles themselves are also good, but perhaps due to previous laziness, their bodies seem to be unable to move as they please. When the sun sets and the signal for the end of the training is sent, everyone collapses to the ground. It seems that the limit has been reached. I'm working hard. I'll be eating in 30 minutes. After taking a 15-minute break, I'll go to the cafeteria immediately. You can have 2 more drinks and 3 more drinks. Ah. Well, can anyone drink alcohol? The new recruits asked in surprise. At present, the 8th team is not responsible for security tasks. The situation may vary when it is their turn to be on duty. However, excessive drinking is personal responsibility. Requests to reduce training due to physical discomfort are not allowed. Everyone must receive the same intensity of training. Yes. The new recruits answered cheerfully. The sergeants looked at this side with complex expressions. They used to center around Jomo, use position as a protective umbrella, and monopolize drinks. But it's not possible now. That's why they have this complex and lost expression on their faces. Li Ming left the training camp and returned to his own room. In his free time, he was reading books when someone brought food. He quickly ate 1 portion and then had someone send 2 more. Then, he gave one of them to the card library. This giant requires more than twice the energy of an ordinary person. Even if that's not enough, you can give him some dry meat to eat. After dinner, ask Kaku to bring Private Adar over to meet me. He sorted out the time and location of the battle with the Audi Principality, as well as the time and location of the Kuming tribe's attack. I roughly reviewed the daily report recorded above and then closed it. The information is good, no problem. I'll ask you tomorrow. What? Sir, have you already read it? I've probably finished reading it. I'm very good at speed reading. You can also exercise it. If you can read one page of a book in 1 second, it will greatly save time in life. I understand, sir. Private Adar gave an indescribable bitter smile. Can you help me analyze it by organizing the daily report into geographic data? Yes, sir. If they haven't paid you any extra salary, just let me know and I'll take care of them. How could? This is also a task. Tasks come at a cost. Regular training, vigilance, and combat behavior for all staff are part of the salary. I have you spy on intelligence, which is extra work. So you should receive your salary. Li Ming gave an explanation for the indecisive second-class soldiers. He is not interested in the obvious salary system. He doesn't like to manipulate others with vague promotions, but prefers to manage subordinates based on their abilities and performance. He felt that as long as he persisted in considering these 2 points, his subordinates' dissatisfaction should be reduced. Private Adar showed a surprised and confused expression. But soon, he smiled and nodded. I understand, thank you, sir. No need to thank you, it's just a compliment to your work. You just need to feel proud of your abilities and efforts. No, despite that, I still want to thank the adults, because so far, no one has praised me. Adar smiled foolishly. I have no right to eliminate the emotions you hold. It's up to you. Yes, then I'll bid you farewell. After Adar finished speaking, he retreated. Chapter 8. Lieutenant Mospica. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the afternoon, 1 week after being dispatched to the northern region. During training, Li Ming received a call from the military command room. The superiors are all there. Are you calling me? Li Ming asked, and Colonel Gilbar walked over with a smile on his face. You really scared me, I didn't expect you to be still alive. Logs, I submit them every day. Colonel Gilbar looked back at the man and asked lightly, is that so? Lieutenant Mospica. Anyway, I didn't receive it. Really? Ah, maybe you're too busy. Colonel Gilbar once again turned to Li Ming. However, I have to apologize to you. The members of Team 8 are all restless and it's difficult to find the talent to control them. But I heard that under your management, they are all undergoing strict training. This has changed my understanding of you. The probing just now was my fault. It's okay. Li Ming answered without changing his expression. Let me introduce my immediate supervisor, who is Lieutenant Mospica. Hello, I'm Li Ming. Can I ask a question before introducing myself? Lieutenant Mospica looked at Li Ming with a neurotic gaze. Please speak. On the first day of being assigned to the army, you didn't kill your subordinates, Sergeant Jomo and Sergeant Dixter, did you? Yes. You didn't report to me. No, I have reported it in the log. So I said, I didn't receive that log. So, where did you learn about the deaths of Jomo and Dixon? Upon hearing this question, Lieutenant Mospica's eyebrows twitched. I heard it from other subordinates. Generally speaking, important information is conveyed orally. I think this should be done, right? That's right. Why not give a verbal report? Because my judgment is not important. It's not you who make the judgment. Then please ask the lieutenant to check the log, which contains the report content. The lieutenant will determine if it is important. What did you say? Lieutenant Mospica's voice became hoarse. If your subordinates have not been granted the right to judge importance, then from now on, please do so. Oral reporting of all content is purely a waste of time. I believe that directly reviewing logs is the most efficient method. What are you saying? So, what do you want me to say? Li Ming showed a surprised expression. What is the panic and excitement of this officer? For Li Ming, what he said was just an answer based on military regulations. Do you know that kind of thing just by feeling it? Didn't you even give a verbal report? Don't you think it's serious? Yes. Whether it's in terms of feeling or military discipline, I judge it's not important. That's because your feelings are abnormal. You killed 2 subordinates. Even if this behavior is considered a concealment, you can still say so. It's not a concealment, I report everything in the log. So I said I didn't receive it. Lieutenant Mospica slammed the table hard. It was written a week ago that I received Lieutenant Gabu from the 5th Squadron. Well, assuming he hasn't received it. When receiving the certificate, he gave me the date and signature. If he gave false evidence, I will provide these proofs. Li Ming basically doesn't trust others. Although it was said to be troublesome, a handover record was still made. Lieutenant Mospica's forehead was dripping with sweat and he remained silent. Even if Lieutenant Gabu didn't hand it over to him, it was still a week ago. If it were pointed out immediately, wouldn't Lieutenant handle it immediately? Because I'm too busy. I will concentrate on reading on weekends. Are you talking about reading logs? I only found out a week later about the file that may record important information in a timely manner. Can I hand it over to my boss? Li Ming showed a surprised expression, and Lieutenant Mospica fell silent again. Hee. Can it be another lieutenant? A smirk came from somewhere, and the neurotic little man blushed. The 8th team is not on duty this month. Of course, we usually look at the reports of the teams responsible for border security. On weekends, we only focus on the teams that are not on duty. This is in priority order of importance. Of course. Lieutenant Mospica deliberately defended loudly. So, as expected, it's still unimportant intelligence, isn't it? What are you saying? I think this is unimportant intelligence, so the lieutenant doesn't value off-duty intelligence either. Although he heard it verbally from other team members, he didn't ask me or look at the logs at the time. I agree with the lieutenant. It's just a judgment that it's not urgent. I didn't say I didn't take it seriously. He had a flushed face, bloodshot eyes, and a trembling body. What is he really angry about? Li Ming thought to himself. Speaking of which, after killing 2 subordinates, don't you think there's anything to it? I don't think so, because I'm a soldier. According to military regulations, if it's necessary to kill, I will. It's really surprising that a person with such an abnormal ethical view is actually a general who shoulders the future of the empire. Are you saying that ethics are more important than military regulations? I never said such a thing. So, what do you want to say? Lieutenant Mospica remained silent 3 times. Li Ming observed while sighing. This is a waste of time. The military should make reasonable judgments based on reasonable rules. Li Ming himself said that he did not hold any grudges against the lieutenant. Having hostility towards superiors will only increase trouble. I have tasted this taste too much before. So this time, in order to ensure that similar situations do not happen again, he even took the military examination, but the result seems to have not changed at all. I hope Shangwan can try his best to calm down his anger and live in harmony. Otherwise it will be very troublesome. Chapter 9. Lieutenant's Termination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lieutenant Mospica's silence continued, and an unpleasant atmosphere began to permeate the scene. In this situation, Colonel Gilbar made a suggestion to both of them. Lieutenant Li Ming, I know you won't hide this matter. However, Lieutenant Mospica also thinks this matter is important, so you can explain it verbally here now, right? Okay, let me explain. Because they plan to poison their superiors, I punish them according to military regulations. Where's the evidence? Lieutenant Mospica asked after him. They are current offenders. In that case, shouldn't we be detained for interrogation? At that moment, Sergeant Jomo rebelled and attacked me. This was equivalent to confessing. Sergeant Dictor also confessed. So you executed your subordinates. I think as evidence, this is very sufficient. That's just your statement. Is there any objective evidence? Lieutenant Mospica smacked his lips. We detected poison in the sergeant's room. Did you, the person involved, investigate? Captain Thomas from Team 6 has arrived. Where is Sergeant Dixon's room? No toxins were detected, perhaps because the main culprit was Sergeant Zhu Mo, Chao Chang, and Xiao Mo. So, are you saying that even those who are not the main culprits have been executed? Yes. Regardless of whether it is the principal offender or not, according to military regulations, it should be sentenced to capital punishment. But don't you think this is too ruthless? Do you see your subordinates as tools at your mercy? No, this is just following military regulations. Li Ming felt very confused at that time. Could it be that Lieutenant Mospica didn't even remember the military regulations in his mind? However, in terms of the outcome, your team lost 2 people. How do you plan to bear this responsibility? In terms of team quality, it has improved. How to prove this? There are 3 options. Monitoring, simulation training, performance on the battlefield. If it is realistic, I think it would be better to use the final battlefield performance to represent it. You are very confident, but it takes time. What if you need to prove it immediately? Of course, what I want to hear is not your subjective feelings, but an objective evaluation. Lieutenant Mospica said proudly. Colonel Gilbar. Who evaluated the 8th team? It's Colonel Eula. He happened to see them training and he thought that the 8th team was more motivated than any other team's training, and their cooperation was also very harmonious. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Mospica, Colonel Eula leads a completely different unit from the one we organize. So, in terms of objective evaluation, I think it's enough, do you think? Lieutenant Mospica's face was pale and he remained silent. Why? Li Ming thought. I answered so quickly. This is a completely acceptable explanation. Li Ming himself has limited experience in the military. And in the past, it was a small country, where I was the only one in the world and there was no culture of giving orders from superiors. That's why he acted according to military regulations, but what's wrong with it? Is Colonel Eula's testimony insufficient? Is it a matter of credibility or qualification? I never said such a thing. What's going on? I admit, the quality has not declined. Really? Then there's no problem. However, the fact that you have cornered the 2 of them will not change. They both have family members. Perhaps. Don't you feel guilty? No. Do you have any guilt towards their families? No. Why? Don't you feel sorry for the families of the war victims? What is your responsibility? They were not killed in battle. Being executed for violating military regulations is the same crime as rebellion. Therefore, there is no obligation or responsibility to compensate their families. Lieutenant Mospica began to remain silent again. What exactly does this lieutenant want to do? Li Ming felt a wave of annoyance from the bottom of his heart. Is it necessary to compare those who violate military discipline with those who died in battle? I didn't say it, did I? So, what do you want to say? Woo. He fell into silence again, which made Li Ming lose control. He began to doubt whether Lieutenant Mospica's brain was functioning properly. It's a waste of time to stand and talk anymore, since Mospica has been holding on to this all along. Li Ming decided to make things bigger. So he decided to try to refute it. Number 34, I have confirmed the records that before me, the 6 second lieutenants and brigadiers of the 8th Squadron dispatched all died in suspicious circumstances. Number 34, what do you want to say? This should be Sergeant Jomo's behavior. Open your dog's eyes and take a look. Number 34, no, it's not. Lieutenant Mospica is responsible for the losses of 6 lieutenants and brigadiers. What is your opinion on this? Number 34, suspected cause of death, unable to be determined. Number 34, you are clearly unable to determine the suspicious deaths of 6 people, so isn't this a problem? Number 34, what? Question. You guy. What are you talking about? What do you want to do? Number 34, Lieutenant Mospica was clearly a bit embarrassed. When the first victim appears, if some measures are taken, the choice of other reasons can be reduced before the second victim appears. If the third victim also takes the same measures in the future, the 6th victim will not appear. Failure to do so is either very incompetent or deliberately ignoring. I can only think of one of them. Because Li Ming clearly said these words, it caused some commotion around him. What a joke. You're insulting your boss. So, are there any other clear reasons? I'm not just focusing on the 8th team. I also need to integrate and manage other teams. Maybe I don't have that much time there. Have you investigated the reason? Lieutenant Mospica's face became increasingly pale. Didn't you even do this? 6 people died clearly. Of course, they were asked to conduct an investigation. So, please allow me to take a look at the summary of the survey results. What? Why should I show you? To confirm the objective evidence that the lieutenant confirmed with me. That thing can't be taken out at the moment. Where is the storage place? Please tell me where I will go to find it. I forgot. Did the lieutenant forget the storage location for the data on the mysterious deaths of 6 people? Mospica looked around and found that everyone had a bitter smile that was irrelevant. Li Ming looked at Mospica and seemed to be choosing to remain silent. Of course, the responsibility for this matter was also assumed by Lieutenant Mospica's superiors. But they are also very busy. That is to say, he doesn't think it's important. In fact, Li Ming doesn't think this is anything important either. Nevertheless, the neurotic man in front of him still started causing trouble with it. In that case, they must be asked to provide important evidence. Lieutenant, you lost 6 people, and you forgot the storage location of the information sent for investigation, right? Now, it's just that I can't remember for a moment. Unlike your team, the squadron has more tasks to handle in operation. Are you saying that if you take on more tasks, you can ignore the losses of 6 people? Yes. I have over 300 people under my command, of which only 6 are less than 10%. Do you know how many people die in battle every day? I don't need to worry about those things. So, can you shut up? What? According to Lieutenant's theory, compared to the number of casualties in battle, the number of suspected deaths of 6 people is negligible. Therefore, compared to the number of subordinates, as long as the death is less than 1, there is no problem with achieving success, right? If that's the case, our 8th team only lost 2 people, which is similar to your loss ratio, of course, less than 10%, so there is no reason to pursue responsibility, is that right? You. Lieutenant Mospica was so panicked that he couldn't speak and was about to fall. At this moment, Colonel Gilbar, who couldn't bear to watch, interjected with a big bitter smile. I understand. This time, as Lieutenant Li Ming said, there's no problem. Lieutenant Mospica seems to be a bit emotional too. This matter ends here. We won't pursue it further. We both have a relationship between superiors and subordinates, so don't make it so awkward. Lieutenant, do you think it's okay? Lieutenant Mospica let out a groan that he didn't know how to answer. Lieutenant Li Ming, what about you? Of course, Lieutenant Mospica, please take extra care of me in the future. Li Ming smiled heartily and reached out his hand. Chapter 10. The Emergence of the Kuming Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After leaving the military command room, Kaku stood there. I heard quite intense shouts. Well, it's my superior Lieutenant Mospica. He looks very neurotic, you need to be careful in the future. To me, he sounds like a brainless lieutenant. Is that right? From Li Ming's perspective, he spoke quite cautiously. Because after all, he is facing a lieutenant, a superior in military law and regulations. Well, it's not very useful to tell you nothing. It's also the responsibility of soldiers to communicate well with their superiors and maintain a consistent pace. If you deliberately don't understand, it's completely futile for you to talk to him again. Kaku sighed, but Li Ming didn't listen to him nagging anymore. Li Ming began to think about other things. On the way back to the training center, I encountered Brigadier Garb from the 5th Squadron. Gabu said to him, Lieutenant and Brigadier General, urgently convene. I heard that the Kuming tribe has appeared and will gather in the large conference room. Got it. Li Ming immediately turned around and walked towards the large conference room with Captain Gabu. Entering the large conference room, most of the lieutenants and brigadiers had already arrived. Why so late? What are you doing? Lieutenant Mospica was clearly shouting at me. It's not late, we arrived here in the shortest possible time. Shut up. As he roared to hit Li Ming in the face, Kaku grabbed his wrist. You, let go of me. Don't break his wrist. At the moment when Li Ming gave this instruction, Lieutenant Mospica's face became very ugly. Ha, let go of me. Let go of me. Although he kept struggling, Kaku refused to let go. Just silently grabbing his or her wrist. After a while, Li Ming ordered release, and the card library was immediately released. It's okay. The guards are not subordinate to the army, so they don't obey the lieutenant's orders. He's just following my orders. What are you saying? Of course, if I make a mistake, I will be punished. At that time, I will tell the cardholder not to interfere. However, I do not want to accept unfair blame under unclear standards like now. Moreover, for meaningless and unreasonable violent behavior, I judge the cardholder's protection as appropriate, and I will not stop it. Lieutenant Mospica's lips kept trembling and he remained silent. Please be careful, Lieutenant. If it's an ordinary person's palm, it takes less than 1 second to crush each corner. From just now on, the lieutenant's forehead and back were sweating like a waterfall. Instead of that, why not have the meeting earlier? It's a waste of time, all of which are useless questions and answers. I know. Where did the Kuming tribe appear? 3 kilometers south of the border. Lieutenant Asalak from Squad 4 answered. What are the number of people within our borders? About 100 people. Team 8. As an advance team responsible for the defense of nearby villages. Our team will provide appropriate support after confirming the situation. I understand. Li Ming replied and quickly walked out of the large conference room. Can we not ask for a detailed combat plan? Kaku follows behind. It's not necessary. Instead, it's more important to arrive on the battlefield as soon as possible. Arriving at the stable, they mounted their horses and rushed to the training center. Location. Gather at 55 South and 37 West. Second class eater. After confirming the location, lead the infantry team. Sergeant Base, prepare for command and standby. Yes, sir. Li Ming galloped on horseback, and everyone ran as if bounced off. Of course, due to the speed of the horses, the soldiers were gradually distanced. But Li Ming continued to run without any concern. A leading commander only needs to stand on the flagship level. After about 5 minutes, we saw the enemy reflexively dodge into the grass and stop the horse. For minutes later, the infantry team arrived and joined forces with Li Ming. The time is just right. Ha! Whoa! Ah, thank you, sir. Base gasped for help. Li Ming did not turn back, but observed the Kuming tribe. They are marching. It is not yet clear whether nearby villages have been affected. The Kuming tribe is a tribe living in the mountainous area. Strong waist and legs, skilled in wielding axes. Wearing fur and half-painted. Because they have lived on this land since ancient times, they belong to the identity of indigenous people here. Do the Kuming people have wizards? I think it should be a man wearing a big crown. Private Adar pointed. Based on what? The crown is a symbol of bravery for the Kuming people. However, it is still unknown what kind of wand is hidden beneath the crown. I understand. So, I will lure him out. If the other party knows that the commander has left, he will come alone to fight against me. When I solve the magic of the Kuming tribe, we will launch a pincer attack. Obey me. Magic often turns battles into 1-on-1 duels. For those who do not know how to use magic, they need highly skilled warriors or sufficient numbers to engage in combat. The Kuming troops here can be said to be equivalent to the size of our squadron. The commander of the other party may be at the rank of lieutenant.